On a bright Saturday afternoon in a quiet suburban neighborhood, the last thing anyone expected was that a simple flat tire would almost turn into a nightmare in front of somebody's children. But that's exactly what happened to Marcus Reed, a black father who had only wanted to take his kids out for ice cream. Marcus was driving his two young children home from the park when he felt the car pulled to one side. The steering wheel vibrated and a dull thudding sound started up from the front left side. He sighed, checked his mirrors, and eased the car over to the curb beneath a line of tall green trees. The kids in the back, Mia and Jaden, kept chattering about the playground, oblivious to the change in his voice as he said, "Looks like Daddy's got to change a tire real quick, all right? Stay in your seats and keep your seatbelts on." He put on his flashers and stepped out into the warm afternoon air. Birds chirped, lawnmowers hummed somewhere down the street, and the neighborhood felt calm and safe. Marcus popped the trunk, pulled out the jack and the spare, and knelt by the front wheel, loosening the lug nuts with the tire iron. Sweat beaded on his forehead, but he worked methodically. He'd done this a dozen times before. Inside the car, his wallet and badge sat on the dashboard, right where he'd tossed them when they'd left the park. The badge, gleaming in the sun, belonged to him not as a cop in this small town, but as a detective from the nearby city's major crimes division. He was off duty, just a dad in a polo shirt and jeans, trying to enjoy the weekend with his kids. To anyone walking by, he looked like any other man dealing with a bit of bad luck on the road. 2 blocks away, Officer Sean Walker was patrolling in his cruiser, frustrated and bored. He'd been with the local department for years and had gotten used to being listened to without question. Somewhere along the way, confidence had curdled into arrogance. He saw himself as the last line of order in this town, especially now that, in his mind, too many outsiders were moving in. When Walker's eyes landed on Marcus's car pulled over with the trunk open, his assumptions kicked into overdrive. He saw a black man kneeling beside a car in a mostly white neighborhood, holding a metal tool near a vehicle with kids inside. He didn't see a father. He didn't see a flat tire. He saw a problem. He flipped on his lights before he even thought it through. Marcus was tightening the jack under the car when the red and blue glow washed over the street. He heard the siren whoop once, sharp and commanding. His stomach dropped, a reflex born from too many stories and personal experiences. Slowly, he set the tire iron down and raised both hands, where they could be seen. His kids fell silent in the back seat. "Daddy?" Mia's small voice floated through the open window. "Are we in trouble?" Marcus forced a calmness he didn't feel. "No, baby," he said without turning around. "Just stay buckled. Everything's fine." The cruiser skidded to a stop behind his car, blocking part of the lane. Walker jumped out, already in motion, posture wide and confrontational, hand hovering near his holster. His voice cut through the air like a blade. "You," he shouted, "step away from the vehicle. Drop whatever's in your hands and get your hands where I can see them, now." Marcus slowly lifted his empty hands higher. "Officer, I'm just changing a tire. My car got a flat. My kids are inside. I can explain." "I didn't ask for your explanation," Walker snapped, stalking closer. "Are you trying to steal this car? Kidnapping? What's going on here?" The accusations hit Marcus like physical blows. "Steal my own car?" he said softly, almost to himself. Out of the corner of his eye, he could see a couple walking down the sidewalk a few houses away, stopping in their tracks. One of them pulled out a phone. Another neighbor stepped onto a porch, watching. "I need you on your knees, hands on the hood. Don't make any sudden moves. You holding a weapon?" Marcus's heart hammered. The tire iron lay in the grass by his knee, suddenly transformed in the officer's eyes from a tool to a threat. "It's a tire iron," Marcus said, keeping his voice measured. "For the flat, that's all." "Don't get smart with me," Walker growled. He lunged forward, grabbing Marcus by the arm and yanking him up from his kneeling position. Marcus stumbled, catching himself with one hand on the hood of his own car. The kids in the back seat gasped and Mia started to cry. "Daddy," she sobbed, "leave my daddy alone."
If you think this little guy is cute, please hit like and subscribe, or else this man will knock on your doorstep tomorrow.
Marcus swallowed hard. "Sir, you're scaring my children," he said. "Please, I'm not resisting. I have my license and registration. Everything is in the glove box. We can clear this up calmly." But Walker was already in full performance mode, voice loud, stance exaggerated, as if he were playing to the invisible crowd he believed admired his toughness. "I'll decide what we clear up," he barked. "You think I haven't seen this before? Wrong guy in the wrong neighborhood claiming everything's fine? Turn around, hands on the hood, now." Marcus complied, his palms flat on the warm metal. Shame burned under his skin. He could feel the eyes from the sidewalk, from the porches, from his own children. The man who had spent his career protecting other people now couldn't even protect himself from being treated like a criminal in front of his family. "It's always the same," Walker muttered, patting down Marcus's pockets, rougher than necessary. "Act innocent, cause a scene, make it a race thing." "I never said anything about race," Marcus interrupted quietly. "You didn't have to," Walker shot back. "I know how this goes." While he spoke, Walker's gaze drifted across the windshield. The sunlight reflected off something metallic on the dashboard, a badge sitting on top of a worn leather wallet. For a second, he didn't process it, his brain so locked into his own narrative that reality bounced off. Then the shape registered, the emblem, the word detective stamped across the bottom. His hands hesitated on Marcus's pockets. He leaned slightly closer to the glass, squinting. The badge wasn't from his department, but it was real. His chest tightened. Suddenly, the narrative he had been acting out didn't match the props on the stage. "Is that—" he began slowly, stepping away from Marcus, just a fraction. "Is that yours?" Marcus took a breath, still facing the hood. "Yes," he said. "I was off duty. Took the kids to the park. Threw my wallet and badge on the dash without thinking they'd be a factor changing a tire." The couple on the sidewalk had come closer, keeping a careful distance, phone camera pointed at the scene. Another neighbor across the street had started recording too. The air felt heavier now, the silence of the street punctuated only by Mia's quiet sobs and the soft click of phone screens. Walker's shoulders stiffened. His mind raced, calculating. An off-duty detective from the neighboring city, mishandled in broad daylight in front of witnesses with cameras rolling. He thought about body cam policies, complaints, the talk the chief had given just last month about de-escalation and optics. He thought about his already thick file of incident reviews. "Why didn't you tell me you were law enforcement?" Walker demanded, but the edge in his voice was thinner now, more defensive than dominant. "I didn't," Marcus said quietly, turning to face him. His eyes were full of hurt, but his voice stayed controlled. "I told you I was just changing a tire with my kids in the car. You called me a thief, a kidnapper. What exactly was I supposed to say between those accusations?" Walker opened his mouth, then closed it again. Under the watchful eyes of the neighborhood, his confidence started to crumble. He took another step back, the heat of embarrassment prickling his neck. "Look," he said, forcing a stiff, professional tone, "maybe we got off on the wrong foot. Let's just reset. You understand I have to check things out. It's for the safety of the community." "For the safety of who?" Marcus asked quietly, finally turning to face him. His eyes were full of hurt, but his voice stayed controlled. "Because from where my kids are sitting, the only dangerous thing that showed up on this street today was your attitude." Behind them, little Jaden pressed his face to the window, watching the two men. A small voice floated out of the car. "Daddy, is the police mad at us?" Marcus's heart clenched. "No, buddy," he answered, not looking away from Walker. "He just made a mistake. A very big one." Walker glanced at the children, then at the bystanders. One young woman lowered her phone just enough to speak. "It didn't look like a mistake," she said, her tone cool. "We saw you jump out of that car like he was attacking someone. All he had was a jack and a tire iron. You could see the flat from the sidewalk." Another neighbor nodded.
If that badge hadn't been on the dashboard, exactly how far were you planning to take this? The question hung in the air like a weight. Walker had no good answer, and everyone knew it. He cleared his throat awkwardly. Sir, he said to Marcus, almost choking on the word, I'm going to release you now. You're free to continue changing your tire. If you'd like, I can call for roadside assistance. I've been changing my own tires since I was 16. What I'd like is an apology. In front of my kids, in front of this street. Walker shifted from foot to foot, clearly uncomfortable. But the cameras didn't blink. The badges on dashboards had a way of forcing honesty where there otherwise might be none.
He drew in a breath. Kids, he called toward the car, voice tight. Your dad didn't do anything wrong. I overreacted. I misjudged the situation. I'm sorry for scaring you. Mia sniffled. Jaden stayed quiet. Marcus studied Walker's face, trying to gauge whether any of it was real remorse or just damage control. Maybe it was a mix of both. And what about me? Marcus asked softly. Are you sorry you saw a man changing a tire and decided he must be a criminal? Walker looked away for a moment, jaw clenched. When he spoke, his voice was lower. Yes, he said. I'm sorry for that. It wasn't enough. Not really. But it was more than Marcus had expected. He nodded once. You know I have to report this, he said. Not because I want to ruin you. Because if I let it slide, the next man you misjudge might not have a badge on his dashboard. He might not have neighbors watching. He might not walk away. Walker closed his eyes briefly, then opened them again. I understand, he said hoarsely. You do what you have to do. He walked back to his cruiser slowly, as if the air around him had gotten thicker. The lights clicked off. The car rolled away, leaving the street suddenly quiet again. Marcus stood by his car, breathing deeply, letting the adrenaline slowly ebb out of his system. The woman with the phone walked up. I recorded everything, she said. If you need a copy, I'll send it. I wasn't right. Thank you, Marcus replied sincerely. I might take you up on that. He turned back to his children, opened the back door, and crouched down to meet their eyes. You both okay? He asked gently. Mia wiped her cheeks. Why was he yelling at you? She whispered. Marcus hesitated, picking his words with care. Sometimes, he said, people see what they're afraid of instead of what's really in front of them. That's what happened today. But we're okay, and we're going to make sure it doesn't happen to someone else if we can help it. That evening, after the tire was finally changed and the ice cream run turned into a quiet dinner at home, Marcus sat at his kitchen table with his laptop open. He wrote a detailed report about the incident, attached the video neighbors had sent, and forwarded everything to both his own department and Walker's. The next few weeks were tense. There were meetings, phone calls, interviews. Marcus was asked to describe again and again exactly how it felt to go from father changing a tire to suspect pinned to his own car. He answered honestly every time. He wasn't out for revenge. He was out for change. The review board took the incident seriously. With video from multiple angles and testimony from witnesses, there was no question what had happened. Officer Walker was placed on suspension and ordered into mandatory retraining and counseling with a clear warning. Any future behavior like this, and his badge would be gone for good. Months later, the department invited Marcus to speak at a joint training for officers from both jurisdictions. Standing at the front of the room, looking out at rows of uniforms, he felt a mix of anger, hope, and wariness. I'm not here as a detective today. I'm here as a black father who had to explain to his children why a man with a gun and a badge treated him like he didn't belong on his own street. Bias isn't always a conscious choice, but if you don't examine it, if you don't challenge it, it can cost someone their life, or their sense of safety, or their children's trust.
I could feel eyes on him, some defensive, some open, some ashamed. In the back row, Sean Walker sat quietly, shoulders less squared than before, eyes fixed on the floor. He had shown up for every required training session since the incident. Whether he would truly change, only time would tell. But the story of that day had already shifted something in the room. When Marcus drove past that same tree-lined street that week, the memory still tightened his chest, but the fear didn't own him anymore. He had taken what happened and used it to push a conversation forward, to make sure eyes were opened that would rather stay shut. This story reminds us how quickly assumptions can escalate a harmless moment into something dangerous, and how powerful it is when truth, evidence, and courage expose those assumptions for what they are. It also shows that accountability isn't about revenge, it's about protecting the next person from the same injustice. If this story touched you, if it made you think about the importance of fairness, humility, and looking beyond our fears, don't forget to like this video, share it with your family and friends, and subscribe for more stories that shine a light on justice, respect, and second chances. Thank you for listening. Stay safe, stay aware, and never be afraid to speak up when something isn't right.
Thank you for watching DASHCAM and Justice Stories. You love more stories like this? Click the videos above and see you there.